Sending direct signals is to understand their frequency pattern correlation setting. Now, setting communication system is trying to understand how to recognize your time with yourself because you got a 24 line setting that sets specifications into one setting. So let's say you spent maybe an hour a day just getting into breathing. The breathing basically gets you into relaxation. It's a provocation of meditation graph, not meditation. This is not a program. This is you understanding how to get into balance through your chakras and your positions to higher levels of you through adaptation of the mind. The mind has to understand the conception, has to understand your senses and your sensory communication settings and your impulses. This is all position, location, and track lines into heart direction of time. The sequence pattern communication line stream is trying to understand you through position locations, coming into that line setting, right? Recognizing frequencies. Humming, music, symphony, harmony, recognition, not decentralizing, centralizing communication lines, not relaying, emphasis locations of realigning. Okay, everything is a positive and negative line, rotation, interference line, dislocation, attraction. But you have to recognize the masculinity and the femininity to its location, to its line setting, to its hormones. Hormones communication system. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. So it's like you trying to find a channel frequency, in position location attraction. Oh, there's generate in position. Right? Frequencies is extremely important to the body. It's the conception of relaxation. Truly understand the position locations when you come into that line setting. So instead of just breathing 1, 2, or 3, just really go up and down and try to find the balance of what you're doing through communications to your system, because this is going to bounce you up more and more each time, right? So a good way to start with breathing is to recognize your positions of where you are through your core. You start at the bottom, right? That's two patterns, mixed and line position. So that's an alpha and a beta and position omega. That's 3-line communication settings. Indirect locations in the weather patterns, location line settings, water communication system line positions, electrical line position rotation settings, electrical line interference of pattern communication line, interference location data stream line, position location track line, interference line direct location. 5-line settings, 4 position 2, line 3, 4-line setting, 5, 1 position location 3, line position 4, line 5. So it's a recognition line communication system. It's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. You don't have to be in a chronological order how people say things. It's not A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S. It's not that. You make it what you want to make it is all levels of your meditation graph. So in that position locations, you can say A and up and B and down and C and up, 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 right? So instead of saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. You can rhythm pattern, change frequency, change tones, change line setting, change your location, position locations, level to the alphabetical line setting. Now, your position location and track interference, the more you high rise in your line communication, mind adaptation, line communication system, capacity over pi in your set locations, you're not in a 26 line setting. I guess a physical adaptation line interference that doesn't exist anymore. It's a 26,000 line communication. Really recognize your communication, your tone settings, because it's all levels of vibration that you have to recognize. And every time you communicate with somebody, everybody's at a different frequency. There's an alpha interference line dislocation. Hey, there's a beta line center, a theta line rotation interference, and mega. Mega is coming into gamma. Sigma line dislocation, all track and interference line dislocation back in alpha. Alpha back in locations into theta. Theta back into delta. Delta back into beta. Omega line interference, theta line rotation interference, off calculation streamline. Right? So it's all dislocation, track and interference. Like so that's a rhythm pattern, constant position. So you have to recognize the hologram structure. You got one atom line center in the left, and you got a line right, position right, set position locations, all circle locations. It's creating something. And once it creates something, it puts it in position location of hologram line setting, and then it rotates one way and the other way. So creating a hologram structure of view is a frequency pattern. The pattern line, center line, conditions, laser line, and rotation. You have to stay on the ground lines because of the position locations. When you touch a wall, you can hear the frequency, you can touch the frequency, you can smell the frequency, you can be the space of frequency, you can understand the pi of frequency, you understand the color because it's white, but it's not white. It's all levels of white. White is not white. All colors, it's all colors of what? Frequency, vibration, and coloration, and line conditions of intelligence. So you're working with energy, vibration, frequency, harmonics, alpha, delta, theta, beta, mega, communication line system, all gamma, radiation line center, sigma, high center location, magma, magnus, high center line, ultraviolet, line and rotation interference. Ultra line calculations is vector line communication over pi. That's a relay probe location, line position, unification, line, center line, position, operation, high center location, all levels, hemisphere location, position, track line, connection, position, location, directions. Trees stand the high setting in line communications, all how you set your signals. So in position locations for breathing, you want to just start off simple. Change the rhythm. Keep it going. Don't stop. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. So what you're doing is you're correlating your balance, your frequency, position locations, and your space line calculation setting. Because space is all levels of formation of a balance and position location and the measure correlation system into high setting, into compact line center of value. You're coming into your capacity set locations, into all your settings that comes into the intercept location interfacing line setting. So the recognition high line rotation interference, you can communicate with intelligent line center rotation. That's one intelligence. So you got to connect with that vibration. You got to connect with that frequency. You got to connect with that balance line setting. And then you see the hologram structure that's created location, position, location, the ground line. What's connected to the power line? What's connected to the line position? What's connected to all levels of formation location, not vibration, high single location over pi. The zero line direct locations into a single line communication system, position, location, directions. So truly understand how to set the signal is to understand your body of vibration. And it's very important to get into breathing. Okay, breathing is exceptional because it relaxes you in its harmonization. Okay, you get a clarity, you get more focus, you get more bounds of information, you get more data, and the data doesn't get confused because you're getting to more levels of breathing. You have to breathe, you have to open up all your senses. Okay, breathing is exceptional because you're connected to higher levels of the mind, and the mind has to interpret all these levels that you're going into to its balanced frequency locations. All right, so you go into alpha line setting. Go into beta communication, into omega, in delta, into gamma. Gamma is two signals, sigma over pi. That's two vector line settings. So try to understand how to get this into volume. Use your flux capacitors and in position location notes track setting. So in line rotation in direct location, happy anniversary, Bob. Setting line direct location is one position of one traction. Now this volumes you into quantum setting line interference. Now I noticed that there's one person here that's not in position location activation line setting. That's totally fine. But I put you in operation line interference outside looking in. Okay. In position locations, you really have to be in activation cycle that sets location to its high setting into space discovery. Space discovery is about discovering you. Okay. So space is all levels of inside you. So this is where it correlates in position locations to your inhibitors, line position on high setting. It's a 6, 7, and 8, line position over pi, quantum this, quantum that, quantum here, quantum there. Physics 101. Now, tracking lines and high line rotation interference is all position locations to your trackings. Knowing exactly what to do through provision location is your number, sequence location, of patterns. But recognizing your communication system puts you at all levels of division. You have to recognize these things, because it's all connected inside of you in rotation. All right, so weather pattern correlation settings. Okay. All right, so we get into the position and direct location setting. Now you guys are coming into line communication into the faculty's lines in program location is a falsity set lines into various line rotation interference. Systematical operation line connections into I9 operation takes everybody into and out of its position location of I9 in line rotation into its position of all levels of its illusion. Now, E-line setting, line interference of two tracks, that's two line position locations to the square. Square line centers into two lines into six position locations to eight in set location. Now, eight location comes into energy line setting into operation to its triangulation line setting. Operation interference comes into position location into line communication of its high setting rotation. Kind of looks like a kite, right? So recognition line centers, systematic line conditions. Now this is a systematic line rotation interference position locations. So this is set up as synthesizer. Now unit synthesizer is location is a harmonic line position of channel. Operation signal line of Fibonacci line rotation in two position location, two atoms. One going one way, one going the opposite line rotation. Setting correlation systems into two channel streamline settings in position locations and high setting. Kaleidoscope line rotations. Two grass streams in line position of five track locations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, setting positions of walkway surface. Correlation system to its arc, a rotation setting. Setting communication of rainbow set lines into 12 DNA track locations. Circle line rotation interference into 12 line setting into 45-degree angle line rotation in position. Done by equation. All right. So getting an illusion line factors is to understand how to recognize the communication to its settings. You got a 12-line symbol. Now that 12-line symbol sets line location and track. 12 equals DNA. Now we got the DNA. This is diagnostic line interference, neutralized communication to its atmosphere line connection of its atom. Atom rotates its 1, 2, 3 line track locations, opens up the Fibonacci line swirl into that location to its position, operates a signal location to its graph lines into triangulation's position of 3 settings, and set location of 6 over 7, and 7 line position location 8, 9 line settings, sets position location into 3 line setting, into position location 8 and 9, comes into a cyclone line center rotation, ground setting rotation. Done by equation. Center calculation line interference location observer is determined how levels its position of box and T reception line connections. This stands on point through all position location to 3 trifactor line settings. Now there's a tripod communication lacing lines in 2 track locations. High center line position of travels into 1 and to 2, 3 line settings. So that's 1 position locations. That's 1 over 2 equal line communication of 3. So that's 3 box line setting. So 3 lines equal location of box line position. Hires communication of travel into position location into 6 position another 6 position of 4, solar generation line setting in rotation set location, high setting, done by equation. Setting communication line center evolution location of patterns really recognize the communication line streams. So you got a 27 line rotation. So we got 26 equations of 1 equal line conditions, all line XT line rotation. XT follows in communication of 7, 27 line center location sets line to box location. 2 lines over pi in 7 line position. 7 crosses over in position 8. 8 line setting splits position 8 line rotations in position. This is where it comes into high lines of triangulation at 2 point set lines, high setting, into 2 drop locations. All right, done by equation. All right, so now the 27 line center is set up in high interference. Operation 2 setting location to a team setting. 6 in operation line setting. 7 in direct location to conscious setting. That's equal location of pi. Setting calculations into formations of F1 to position of 12. 12 line setting into quantum interference locations comes into one pattern. One pattern to one sync is hemisync over line communication over pi. Levels of correlation system with kaleidoscope line interference, high connection, high position. This vectors over correlation of dimensional line center rotation interference of its position of a bandwidth. A high center in this correlation system of 27 line settings and position locations into box location, into high center location triangulations, into Merkabah position location, center correlation system, and ground line center operation to its magnetic highway information, box location, industry reception line condition, taking an illusion line interference to 2 track line centers to new position locations, into all position locations to its UFO line rotation in position with new ground line rotation setting. Done by equation. Setting signals in high setting and high rotation set lines is really recognizing the formational line connections. Now, universal line setting sets position of frequency locations. That's why I want you guys to get into your breathing now, because every time you set lines in inside position locations, it's all levels of U, and you have to coordinate line position of barometers, centimeters, and set location of millimeters, all line communication setting. Okay, it's like looking at a ruler and know exactly what is in provisional location to its calculation set line. Really understand the position of its frequency changes its position location of space and time, right? So recognizing these things is breaking these things down in position location to a factory. It's a factory reset line position an engine that opens up all operation signals and location to higher self that sets aside high signals. Now the activation line setting location is 13 position over pi. That's 13 channel operation line rotations and 300,000 line connections into position of 600,000 line centers into 9 line setting. That's equal line position of factor over pi. The set communication system puts everybody into I9 operation line setting. Put in a correlation system up 600,000 line setting. That's a half pipe and position line direct location of future adaptations to its higher self. Now the higher self forms its line communications to its T reception line position. Because you're at 27 line communication, the higher self is going to higher levels of correlation. Once it reaches the correlation system, the position of its direction line setting changes all levels of form of operation. The operation signals and position location changes your position of tracks into higher communication. The communication line setting opens all levels of view. Now, the recognition line communication puts you in higher levels of visualization of formulas of its equation setting, putting your position of track lines into all levels of high standard interference. Box location setting into all levels of X line, position into T line rotation, line communications, into one panel line rotation, into position location of flux capacitors, 3 line positions over pi in correlation setting, and set correlation system in the direction line system. Set lines of 3 line center rotations at 3 position locations, xt 1000 line setting, comes in highest line location equals 1 in line rotations, set lines in 0, 0, 0, 3 at track locations, set lines in I division. That's 2 over line position locations into position. Triangulation high center line position of all levels. 5 line centers into 5, 5, and 5, 5 line position location and track line communication system. Bracket over line center line position over 6. In position of half pipe, set lines in half line channel. Rotation signals and high rotation to its correlation system of a new travel mechanism of time sequence location of pi. Done by equation. All right. Recognizing formulas is really understanding how this is all set up inside of you. You have to really put yourself in so many provision line settings, streamline interference over pi, underscore, or anything of pi. Anything underlying setting is understanding relay programs. Now, this is a course line setting location when it comes into Gypsy because her position line direct location is all of the portals. How to go through wormhole is the set line communication. Once you understand the team set, then you understand how you guys come into a formation, a line setting. The team sets the line communication to levels and putting everything in position of its one timeline into all calculations. The past line, the present, and the one line of its future setting line comes into one pi correlation. Now, that one pi correlation comes into one sector over pi in one position location at 3 track settings. 3, 6, and 9 sets the line communication at E equal line rotation position at all levels. This opens up all channel line rotation into 6, into 7, into 8 line communication. Boxing line settings at 3 rotations, line settings in 3 locations. So 6 line center line position over, 7 line position over, and 8 position location over in 6 locations. So 6 line position of box line, that's 1 position locations and 1 factor. 1 factor line position locations all levels. Open track line, center line, and rotations into 1 sector. 1 position locations into 0 line rotations. 1 in position locations, bracket line position of 0, bracket line center operation, operation signal into triangulation position into 3 set locations. Done by equation. All right. And so the illusion is now out of its equation setting. Passive reference line center no longer exists in line communication system. This puts you in the line direct location of where you're supposed to be, which is everything all in once. 1 line setting, 1 track interference, 1 clock line rotations. 12, 24, 48, 72, and 144 is just the beginning of the process. The process is to understand the higher self, how it merges its position to 99.9% of a 100 line setting. That puts percentage of position location at 1%. That 1% changes line communication that equals line communication into 100% line setting. That opens a high stream into 1 graph line, into 1 hologram, into 1 position of its archetype line setting to its higher self into 100% consciousness into its avatar line system. The whole process here is to merge your higher self into your avatar to put your position locations and create a hologram structure of a world set line communication of your simulation that's inside position, location, and direction. Okay, this quadrant its interference. This puts everything in position locations into track lines of balance. Recognizing the position locations to its interfacing is interlining the communication to your mind setting. This opens all signals of operation to your signal locations, guys. This is what you're coming into. Higher levels of travel of the mind line rotation to really understand the space division locations you have inside to its equation. Okay? All right. Let's see here. Okay, communication line settings, high center position locations, Gypsy, let's see, we go location Cami, Dylan, line rotations, Val, Chris, Danielle, Tina, line position airbender, there's a Heather, communication line system, line position JP, line interference, Andre, communication system, Sarah, line settings, all specification of tracks, Hendo, high center location guardian, Johnny, line rotations, all specification high system, Brett, line communication Trinity is the commander, command line interference, sending correlation settings, high direct location setting interference, high track location settings. Putting position locations all levels. Let's see. High position location tracks. All right. So knowing exactly what's going on with you guys is recognizing communication MOC lines. Really understand the position location all levels, high setting location settings. All right. Position location Michaela, high position location of track interference. We got Val. All right. So knowing exactly what's happening with you guys is recognizing the formulas now. Because the thing is, the open system and direct location is the mind adaptation of high signing. Once you stand in the highest center line interference, you come into 1, you come into 2, and you come into 3 line position of this line settings. Okay? Rotation interference, ground line center is 144. Now you guys are just here. You're just in the ground line setting rotation. You guys are here. You have the frequency pattern line interference line direct locations come to position location into MOC. Marking line center location to any line interference into 0, equal locations into 50. Setting position location attraction. Now the 50 line center is lines it sets location into 5, 5, 5. Setting position locations into 5 line setting, 5 position location of 5 tracks into 1 line setting rotation. Done by equation. So the recognition line interference is Trinity stand to 144, crystal grid line conditions. Clocking line center line is center 24, and position 48, and position locations high setting. 40 line center line interference location into 172. 172, that's 1 line position over 7, 7 over 2, 7 line position new security parameters. Because you're setting line position locations into the levels of a solar graph line setting. Done by equation. All right. So you have to recognize your MOCs now. Your brackets, your interference, your channels, your streamlines, and how you come into acceleration line connections to your flight navigations and your formation line settings. Right? We got in that formation location of caps locks. You really have to look at the shift, the control, the space bars, the computer line rotation interference, position over calculations over pi, setting correlations in position of dash, ground lines, operations, signals, high and center, and position location, traps interference, line communication balance, all system locations, vector, and line communication velocity, and defining position location attraction. So recognizing communication is really all levels of you and track locations and balance. Okay, look really close to see the intelligence. So, setting in position locations, because you guys are at 27 now, the illusion is now gone. So setting sequencing and line interference, you guys got seconds over panel, okay, equals over panel. This is where you guys are now. Now the panel line center line interference is line position locations. Now this is 27. Okay, so the panel comes into 27 line settings. So that's 27. That's 2 line position over 7 equal locations of pi. Setting calculation. Right? Now, recognizing the line position location, that's 2 over 6 into a half pipe. Setting the moon line rotation. There's the moon set in position location to the sun. There's the sun. Sun comes into rotation, 1 center line rotation. Interference. Recognizing 4 panels of correlation echo chambers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Center correlation setting done by equation. Right? Sequence pattern communication line setting is really recognizing the vortex chamber, the line center, and interference line direct location position of high setting. So this is traction. You're given a traction line settings. I think it's amazing too because traction is all like indices of tracks. So locations, high setting interference, equal location GPS. Now GPS location on map, and map location sets lines. into 13 channels, line position location, equaling position location, line settings, 1 line rotations, in position location is 6, line rotation of 7, 7 line position of 8. Now there's 2 8 line center rotations and set locations over line setting interference, 2 8 line rotation of space, set position location of time, set location setting. Done by equation. All right. How to set these things up is really understand the schematic line interference. Try to get in position of its image where everything has to be balanced. And to get balanced is to put everything in its timeline. To put everything in its timeline is formulas of equation, guys. This is all levels of mind adaptation. This is the alteration line connections that comes into the subterranean setting. So you got a circle line rotations into 1, 2, 3, right? So you come into the sub in position line setting, you come into the super and line interference. Anything above line interference comes to the subterranean, equal line conditions into box and position line direct locations into your geometric operation of direction. Okay. So you don't want to be in the neutralized set lines and negative into pause locations. All right. You don't want to be in this ground setting. You want to be in the center line of the subterranean locations in the super of its consciousness. Above line orientation puts in higher communication and geometric operation of its direct location settings. Half pi of 6 in line position locations into sun and high operation, and align communications into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sonars of echo chamber setting locations. Done by equation. All right, so setting these things up is really trying to understand how to put it all together into one. Yin and yang. Now, this is a process that we don't understand, but to understand how the mind works is really understanding the position location, how it comes into all levels of formation, location, and communication. The mind alteration is its state of mind of where you are with your thoughts. And how fast you're traveling is your determination of what happens next in its position, right? So recognizing that line communication to the subtronic line interference, the position locations into, the subconscious to the connections to the conscious line center, into the subterranean, into the super level communications, into the high line rotation, into geometric operation directions, put you in higher levels of channel of the mind alter state location. So the recognition line and line rotation interference is really recognizing the higher self line connections. All right, so you get really interference line and formula location. So this is H equals self, blocks and line center line interference. Now the higher self can come into abundance in line position of crisscross line settings. Crossing line centers of 3, in position of 6, in position of 9. Okay, so you got one line setting in position of direction. Okay, so equal line position location of 12. 12 comes in, set lines of communication. That's 12 equals 3 equals line center over pi. It's set correlation system in direct location of its pi setting. Done by equation. Showing you exactly how you use the higher self and all coordinates. Really recognize your formation locations coming into your pi setting line interference. Now you guys have a test coming up, which is Friday. Now this is going to coordinate your set lines and where you are in your business of your sonar, in communications, where you are in your track lines into your higher self, into your avatar setting. Okay. This goes into PBL line center rotations, high center interference. So you got sonar equal locations and line center locations in positions to its higher self. Higher self line rotation, same line positions. So what the higher self is a 6-line communication, equal line conditions of half pipe. Okay. Half pipe set line communication. Right. So you really have to point these things out because it's all position location to your schematics and line communication. Right. So recognition line settings really understand the door recognition of timelines, time streams times pi, position locational levels. When you're looking at cloud channels, you're seeing your membranes and high center line rotations to its schematic line position over triangle over calculation settings in position line direction. That's what you see schematic line interference in clouds. So this is all connected to sonar line interference. Higher communication 6 are line positions half pipe. Half pipe positions equal line position of perception. All right. So setting communication, done by equation. Now, the communication comes into line centers at 12, right? We understand the 12 line. 12 equals clock. Okay, that's a 12 clock line setting. 12 here, 12 here, 12 here, and 12 here. Right? So that's 12, 24, 48, 72. 72 sets in line communication, the center lines, right? So that's 72 line positions to its computer setting in rotation. Now really recognize the communication lines that comes in line with new ground center rotation interference and set locations into 144 and track location done by equation. So you have to really understand what I'm doing is putting you guys in position of directions to realize how to formulate all this through your equations. Your formulas equations are everything through its abundance, and you have to recognize the communication in your higher self and your avatar setting. Now, if you're just in your higher self, that's fine. But in position locations for the higher levels of the team line setting, that's in position locations into 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, in set location of space of consciousness, you have to recognize what is going on with you into higher levels in space division, space sector, vector, and quadrants. Okay? You have to understand the energy core. You have to understand the galactic core. You have to understand the galactic, the intergalactic, the interdimensional, and the mega universe line sending to universe locations, guys. Right? The Travic communication system is one line center of atom, another line interference, and line position of center locations, right? One atom line rotation, one atom rotation line interference, they come together, right? Center location one way and this way, one way and this way locations. One goes one way, one goes the other way. They come together and create a dimension open. There's the intelligence. Travel communication system opens another channel operation, center line interference of yin and yang process communication system in 12 line settings. Now you can travel locations or you can travel anywhere in line communication setting and high interference and track locations to any dimensional location, high sector location settings. So there's a lot of things that you can do when you go to higher levels. It's about merging all position locations from the ground and bringing it into one. Okay, so you got the zero line sending you 114 coming into one position. Electrical lights comes into a new panel, new operation. Coming into high line is a dimensional line setting. Now that's sector over pi. The set lines is time sequency over pi. You have to understand the position of higher levels when you come into pi, you come into higher levels of volume, of capacity, high position and expansion. You come into higher communication at cloud settings. This opens up all levels of channels of U through theta line interference. Because you're in your securities, because you're in your parameters, and you're in a higher level now, not just in your higher self line completion setting. A higher self is 0 to 13. But when you get into your avatar, your computer is changing position, location, your thoughts. Your thoughts are coming into its intelligent formation of computer settings now because you're in your computer chips. You have to start recognizing these things and be cautious in what you say because it reflects everything back to you through karma. You can put yourself back in the karma cycle again. And that's not what you want to do. Because if you do that, you're changing your position location to your affinity cycles and set lines and position location at 3 line settings into your position locations to all lines of your Orion's belt. Okay. Orion's belt is just all levels of a Stargate. That's all it is. Very simple to understand location settings. So your thoughts are traveling to all line position location of past lines and position line center location and timeline settings. Recognition of high position locations comes into this line communication. So understanding what you're seeing is really recognizing this center operation of you is all position location, living all timelines, all in one position location calculation. There's the intelligence. All right. So getting into understanding the zero lines is trying to understand the 144. Now you guys are at 144, even line conditions. Now this line communication system. This comes into lines of antimantium. Now the antimantium location, ultraviolet line rotation. This comes into atom line rotation and center line position location, one atom into another atom rotation, set locations into high center interference, setting correlations into triangulation. Now that's 3 sets and set locations, 3 line interference into 1 diameter. Now 1 equals 1 diameter into 1 line setting in 1 position location into all dimensional line settings into all sector locations. Setting position line direct location is putting everything in the past, present, and future calculations. Boxing line rotation interference. Travel all positions of 3 lines and all communications into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Done by equation. All right. So now we're in position levels, no more illusion line interference. We're living all timelines all at one single correlation system into 3 tracks in operation to its Orion belt setting. Done by equation. It's all done. All through a 144 line setting. Okay. So now that's set up. The illusion is gone through patterns. The recognition line 144 is sector over pi, tying line sequence line position. So there's no more pass line settings. Triangle line set or a position of box line center is direct location setting line interference. So the track interference location of spacing line is a correlation system of this division locations into its position line setting. So this is what it is now in position line directions. Coming into this location. Congrats, because we're in this position, no more in separation. So the Merkabah set line communication, zero line rotation. Now we set lines in 144. We got that in line rotations into one position of flux capacitor. Setting line interference into position of one orb, setting line position of traction. Setting correlation system of triangle line set. Triangle line sets line position locations into law position location of three settings. Setting communication into line communication and triangulation set line position. Higher communications into your pyramid set lines and rotation setting, high interference. Setting position location, high interference, high track locations into higher communication into your line communication. You guessed it, your connections to your tetrahedron. Okay. So humanity's line setting now into 144 in zero gravity line position into their tetrahedron locations. Okay, so it's opposite location of triangle line setting in high positions. So measuring a quart. Now the count line center is a quart. Now one quart line center sets in one position location and one traction. One traction over pi sets line position location of triangle line sets into four communication settings. That's one position location into three sets line position locations into four set equal line positions. 5 in generation stream into 6 line and half pipe high sign line position of moon lines into sun communication into measured and kaleidoscope line interference and track location, another dimensional line rotation setting on positions and balance correlation system of a crystal grid line center rotation line position location and 144 set location. Done by equation. All right. Complete through cycles and high setting. So the illusion is now gone. It doesn't exist, never existed. Pass line setting and position location is now in center of operation. The center calculation system is now in a 12, 24, 48, 72, and 144 window setting. That 111 position line connection is correlations to one position, one panel over pi correlations of one portal. That portal is a correlation line setting now. It's stream interference that sets line position locations into all correlations to its hologram structure. Congratulations on that line interference. Everybody's in translucent patterns now, position locations to its vision. Theta line interference, line position location in a mega set line communication system, line streams. Setting position location of direct locations into one channel operation, line position in 12 DNA. This puts you in position of 13 line settings into over calculation. Done by equation. Boom. So it's all set up. It's all set up. So tomorrow we get line center line interference location measure, setting correlation of scales, coming in line position locations into 28 signals in operation into line communication, security over pi into 4 sectors in set locations, into 8 channels of operation, 8 in setting line position, 8 position location, 8 position location, splitting line communication, circle line rotation into new triangulation to new tripod line center, new ground operation signal, high position key calculation center. Done by tomorrow. 28. Yes, 8888. Yes, and 4 lines and 4 activation lines setting the high position location of traction. So getting more levels of balance is coming into your data stream lines. Changing your position locations into your higher self is an algorithm location of one program setting. But the meditation graph line has to recognize you through your frequencies. The position of the location is all voicing grid settings. This puts you in a better position location of provision. This opens all levels of view into 88 positions and 88 line connections of space and time. Because now your line communication is balanced in set locations into your theta of all set locations. All right. Visionary cortex of mystical line connections coming up next. All right. All right. Closing all portals of communication line settings. Bring back the team and set location. You guys are back in line setting. 5-10 minutes. We'll get started. I'll see you on Zoom. Adios.